Welcome everybody. Hello and kia ora to those joining us from across the ditch. And thank you for joining us today. My name is Darren Britton. I am the National Assistive Technology Project Officer with the National Disability Coordination Officer Program and part of the Australian Disability Clearinghouse on Education and Training, or ADCET for short, who's hosting this webinar today. This webinar is being live captioned, and to locate those captions, click the CC button in the toolbar that's located at the top or the bottom of your screen. We also have captions available via the browser, and Jane will add the link to those into the chat box now for those that wish to use those. I'm joining you today from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation here in Melbourne in Victoria, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today and acknowledge their ongoing connection to land and sea. I'd also acknowledge all countries participating in this meeting and their elders and ancestors and their legacy to us, and would invite anybody else to share the lands upon which they're on in chat as well if they would like to. Today's webinar is going to cover a couple of things from Jim, Reza and Michael, who are going to look at VoxAid, which is a great bit of software that's there. So they're going to go through some live demonstrations of that working to voice command things and how that adds extra utility to Dragon and some other assistive softwares, and also an update on Inspiration 10 and mind mapping. So I'll leave more of the space for them to fill that in as we go along. Before we begin, however, just a few brief housekeeping details. This webinar is being live captioned by Jason from Bradley Reporting, and it's also being recorded, and that will be available on the ADCET website in the coming days. If you have any technology issues today, please email admin@adcet.com or .edu.au. That's admin@adcet, adcet.edu.au. We'll try and leave some time for discussions and questions at the end. And throughout the presentation, feel free to use the chat box to chat with each other. But please remember to choose all panelists and attendees so that everybody can read any questions that you may have. I'm sure the panelists will be happy to answer any questions we have at the end. So please feel free to put some of those into the Q&A box as we go along. And with that, I might throw over to Jim, who will start our discussion and webinar today. Thanks, Jim.
Oh, thank you, Darren, and welcome to everybody who's taken time out to join us this morning here in Australia or across the Tasman. Particularly with some of you who may be operating under very challenging times at the moment with various climatic disasters and so on, and having to deal with a lot of issues. Thank you. We really appreciate you taking time out and showing interest in what we've got to share with you today. Certainly, I'll be sharing about initially starting the presentation around VoxAid for you. So for the first short period of time, I'll be talking about VoxAid and what it is and how and who it can benefit. And then Michael, the founder of VoxAid, will come on board and he'll go into greater detail about his fantastic technology, VoxAid, and how it works with Dragon. Part of that demonstration will be around a whole range of assistive technologies that Darren has flagged in the introduction, including Inspiration. And then after, Michael Reza will be joining us and give us an update on the latest version of Inspiration and answer any question you might have about that. And then at the end, of course, we'll come back as a group and round up and look at some Q&A. So firstly, what is VoxAid? As Darren alluded, it is actually an add-in, so for Dragon Professional, and you do need to have Dragon installed on your computer to be able to leverage the features that Michael has developed within VoxAid. So VoxAid is an add-in. Has over 5,000 commands that can be used across globally, but also specifically for a whole range of assistive technologies, those favorite technologies that students like to use that really match their learning preferences and needs. But of course, until something like VoxAid has come along, the issues around them accessing the assistive technology could have been quite challenging because the voice commands in Dragon are fairly global and perhaps not best designed for specific technologies. The beauty about VoxAid is that the commands that have been developed are also designed with naturally speaking commands. So this is really quite useful because we know that for many students that the challenge there is to try and recall complex commands and put them together. Now, just one moment, please. I've just got to find something where I've lost some notes. Okay, that's technology for you. My notes have disappeared on my other screen. So we'll just move on and talk about how it benefits various students. And firstly, I'd like to talk about the area of physical disability. When I first came across VoxAid last year, I was really quite excited because in my work over the years as an assistive technology consultant and trainer, I've worked with a lot of students with physical access difficulties, and certainly my work with Dragon has been a big part of that because they've been enabled to use it for writing. But as we know, writing is a very, very complex process. It involves generating and sequencing your ideas, having good syntax knowledge where you can develop your sentences and paragraphs and have the flow of your information or ideas sequence really effectively. And that can be a challenge. And there are a lot of assistive technologies out there that can help address those writing difficulties that students have. Things come to mind like Inspiration for those visual learners, but also, for example, tools like a Claro Writing Helper, which are a great scaffolding tool to help with that writing process. And as Darren said at the beginning, traditionally, Dragon users have focused on using Dragon to address writing fluency, where they can quickly encode their ideas into sentences and phrases. But the added benefit now with VoxAid is that students can take that a step further and utilize some of those really powerful assist technologies with the voice commands to be able to more effectively compose their writing. So using VoxAid in Inspiration if you're a visual learner, or using VoxAid with Read and Write if you need to access different tools within that toolbar. So it's an obvious benefit for physical disability. And Michael will be demonstrating some of that shortly with some selected assistive technologies. The other area that I think VoxAid benefits is in terms of cognitive load, where students are having to recall and sequence a whole lot of micro steps to perform a task. And particularly students with dyslexia, they're non-verbal thinkers, so they're very visual. So they can visualize what they need to do within the technology to achieve that task. But being able to verbalize that with a natural command and execute those multiple steps will certainly help to reduce that cognitive load. And Michael's got a great example of that coming up where he'll demonstrate VoxAid within Microsoft Word when it comes to times for researching and condensing your notes. The other benefit, of course, is for students who might have some sort of RSI or limitations in a range of movement, and the keyboarding process and the mouse use is quite slow or challenging, and they tire very quickly. So the benefit of something like VoxAid is that you can actually use natural commands to do a lot of those mouse movements without having to do those mouse movements. Like if you want to split a screen, if you want to remove hyperlinks from a document, using VoxAid will be so much more beneficial than trying to take additional time to complete that task with a mouse or keyboard. And the beauty, of course, with natural commands is for a lot of students, and I just need to hide that, is for students with low memory retention. So remembering keyboard shortcuts is a challenge for many people. I myself find that challenging, not just the keyboard shortcut itself, but sometimes remembering the correct sequence of those multiple keys, and certainly being able to verbalize that would be a great benefit for me, but I'm sure for many people who really want to reduce that cognitive load on working memory and really use their mental energy to focus on the task at hand rather than using the technology. So VoxAid will be able, and Mike will show in a moment, how those keyboard combinations can be eradicated from your workflow and enable you to get the technology to get out of the way and for your students to be able to get on with their learning using those technologies. And of course, doing that more efficiently will certainly save time. But as I said, I think a lot of it is also going to be about saving that mental energy needed when you to engage in high order thinking to get your assignments task done, to get that writing down eloquently and in detail. So that's just a quick overview of what I believe the benefits of VoxAid are. What we're going to do now is just quickly highlight a couple of assistive technologies where VoxAid has got bespoke commands created for them. So within note-taking, it's not just Glean, and that Mike will be demonstrating that today, but also even with Audio Note Taker, with Microsoft OneNote and Evernote. So there's a whole range of applications that VoxAid has bespoke commands designed to use. As we said, Inspiration is one of the mind mapping ones, but for visual learners who might use other mapping tools, VoxAid also has commands for Mind Genius, Mind Mapper, Mind Manager, and Mind View. And certainly, though there are global commands and an extensive list of commands within Dragon itself for Microsoft Office, Michael's going to show how a lot of those have been value added to and changed in a way for students' workflows. And besides Microsoft Office, VoxAid has commands for Dolphin Supernova, for Firefox, Calibre, Zotero, and though probably not a question for today, but I know that I'm aware that Michael's always looking to add other popular assistive technologies and develop commands for those. And perhaps Michael can talk a bit about those when he does his demonstration. And talk about the demonstration, I think we're now ready for that. So Michael, so glad that you're with us today, and I'd like you, if you can, I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself and take us through some practical demonstrations of VoxAid and the commands that you've developed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Hopefully you can hear me clearly, and I'm just about to share my screen. And share. And hopefully everyone can see my screen now, which is just my desktop here. Okay, so thank you, Jim, and thank you to ADCET and everyone here for inviting me to share really VoxAid with you today. So as Jim has mentioned, my name is Michael Shepherd, and I am the founder and CTO of VoxAid. I've been involved in assistive technology for the best part of 12 plus years now, and most of my involvement has been as an assistive technology trainer, teaching the various mind mapping, note-taking applications, text-to-speech, and of course, Dragon Professional, which is best known for its voice recognition and dictation capabilities. Just to give you a bit of background, VoxAid was actually developed out of my passion for Dragon Professional, not only because of Dragon's dictation capabilities, but most importantly, because I can take advantage of the ability it gives me to create my own bespoke voice commands. And these commands, these bespoke commands, allow me to replace keyboard shortcut sequences, as Jim has mentioned, with voice commands that are far easier to recall. It's these voice commands that save me the headache of searching menus for functions and use my voice to carry out advanced tasks so much quicker than I could manually, ultimately providing the efficiency and productivity I'm always aiming for. Basically, with my own voice, I have the convenience of knowing that when I know what I want to do, I can just say it. Now, Dragon out of the box does indeed provide commands for the likes of Word and Excel. For example, insert page break is a command we can use in Word. However, when it comes to third-party software, Dragon only offers limited commands, and the command phrase is not really related to the software a user might be using. So with today's demonstration, I'm excited to show you how I can manipulate the software inspiration. Also Glean, I'll touch on that, and showcase some of the advanced VoxAid commands that can be carried out within Microsoft Word. So let me open up inspiration. Here we go.
Michael, while you're doing that, would you be able to pop
Yes.
your camera on when you can?
Right, you need me to put the camera on right now?
No, after you finish the demonstration.
Of course.
So
Oh,
we're
yes,
seeing you
yes.
as well. Thanks, Michael.
Okay, so yeah, once I've done, yeah, okay, no problem. Okay, so here we have inspiration, open up. And let me show you how I can manipulate the software by voice, all right? So let's go. Open new outline document. New project. Open new diagram document. Major countries around the world. Press escape. Change to rectangle symbol. Change to oval symbol. Change to cloud symbol. Create a symbol to the right. European countries. Press escape. Select main idea. Create a symbol to the left. African countries. Press escape. Start rapid fire. Tanzania. Press enter. Ghana. Press enter. Morocco. Press enter. Stop rapid fire. Now, inspiration is a prime example of a modern day application in that it's full of features and functions within multiple menus. Not all of its features can be seen in the ribbon at the top. And in fact, if you were to use inspiration with Dragon out of the box, you would notice that in fact, you're very much restricted to using Dragon's basic commands, such as click a menu name. However, with VoxAid installed, we can access the inspiration functions by using voice commands that relate to the software. So for example, as I change the oval symbol or change the cloud symbol, there's no need for me to search through any of the menus, looking for where that particularly is. And there's also no need for me to have to remember the actual keyboard shortcut to achieve that. So let's do a little bit more here. Select the topic Ghana. Add note. Now I could just as easily have said add note to symbol, add note to this topic. It will still respond in the same way. So that is touching on that sort of natural language variation, as of course we don't all dictate in the same way. Situated in West Africa, full stop. Its most valuable resources are timber, gold, diamonds. Full stop. Focus on the topic Morocco. Add note to topic. Natural resources include phosphates, zinc, and iron ore. Full stop. Open find window. Tanzania. Click find next. Click close. Insert hyperlink. www.voxaid.co.uk. Click OK. Fit document to window. Hide all notes. Select the symbol African countries. Hide the subtopics. Now, a point to notice here is that even though the symbols may be hidden from view, we can still find and select them, which is going to be really useful, especially when we're working in those larger mind maps. So for example, select the topic Ghana. Select the topic Ghana. Display note. Hide note. Arrange symbols as web. Fit document to window. Arrange symbols as tree. Turn grid on. Display rulers. Hide rulers. Hide the grid. So just as easy as it is for me to say display rulers, I could have also said show rulers. For some reason though, sometimes Dragon with me doesn't like the way that I particularly say the word show. But again, luckily enough, we've got that natural language variation and I decided to go with display. So that works for me. Of course, I could always go through the training process for those of you that are very familiar with Dragon and, you know, really focus on training Dragon to understand the way that I say show. But there we go. Okay, let me show you a bit more. Change to outline view. Move up, move down. Now, notice that the order here is 1 European countries and then 2 is African countries. Now, with the Inspiration 10, they introduced the sync to diagram function. So VoxAid is always evolving and therefore we want to keep up with the latest updates or improvements from various software. So we've also added in the ability to be able to perform the sync function here. So again, just take a note that European countries is first, African countries is second, and let's see how we can actually change that. Switch to diagram view. Sync outline to diagram. Switch to outline view. So now you can see that African countries comes first and European countries is second, because now it's synced to the actual diagram rather than previously whereby it was in the order that I'd actually created the symbols. Zoom in. Zoom in. Change prefix to bullets. Change prefix to numeric. Change to no prefix. Switch to diagram view. Select the topic European countries. Apply focus. Focus out. Select the topic Morocco. Change to captioned. Remove the caption. Move right by 10. Select the topic Tanzania. Click hyperlink. Great, and there we go. So all the commands that I've been actually dictating are all related to the Inspiration software. So even things like, you know, change the caption, remove the caption. I'm talking about we can auto arrange the symbols. These are all functions that are within the Inspiration software. So now that we've actually clicked the hyperlink, it's opened up my default browser. I'm here in the browser, and VoxAid comes with commands for all the popular browsers, whether it be Chrome, Edge, Firefox as well. And we can do things like, you know, new tab, select the URL. For example, I can say, go to tab 2. Let me show you what I can do here. Go to tab 2. Go to tab 1. Duplicate tab. Close tab. Reopen last tab. Now, I must admit, that is an absolute favorite of mine, because if you're anything like me, I've always got loads of tabs open and I always accidentally close the wrong tab that I'm actually working on. And dictating reopen last tab is so much easier than trying to remember the keyboard shortcut. And hands up for anyone who does remember that keyboard shortcut. Okay, so let's go back to inspiration so I can show you a little bit more here. List all windows. Choose 10. Save document. Click Save. Now, again, a new feature, which is actually in the latest update of Inspiration, is the ability to transfer the map information to Google Docs. And also, of course, we can transfer it to Microsoft Word. But let's just try first to Google Docs. Transfer to Google Docs. Paste that. So there's a combination of using the VoxAid command, transfer to Google Docs, and then using the default Dragon command of just paste that to actually paste in the information. List all windows. Choose 10. Transfer to Word. Click OK. And there we are in Microsoft Word from Inspiration. So now that I am actually in Microsoft Word, it gives me the great opportunity to show you some of the more powerful voice commands that actually come with VoxAid when working with sort of Office products such as Word and Excel. So let me go for example. Zoom to 70%. Select Ghana. Highlight red. Select Morocco. Highlight in yellow. Select European countries. Highlight in red. Unselect that. So something like actually highlighting our text takes away the need to constantly go up to the ribbon to change the actual highlighting color as well. And it will respond to any of the available highlighting colors, such as blue, bright green, teal, turquoise, violet, are all available as well. So once we've actually got some text selected, what I've got down here is I've got a number of Word documents, all with various different highlights within them. I'd like to show you what we can do with that. So before I do that, let me close this document. Now, most of the time, whenever we close a document in Word, we're always prompted with, do you wish to save it or don't save? Now, that can be quite a little bit tedious, especially when you've been doing lots of draft documents. So there's a nice little command within VoxAid, close without saving. And that simply closes the current Word document that you're working on. Okay, so let's have a look at what we can do with these highlights. So firstly, a new command that we've just done is the ability to allow the user to have read back to them a specific color highlight. So let's have a go and see if that's there. Read the yellow highlights.
A tabular iceberg or ice shelf.
I'm hoping that you heard that through my microphone. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's a really great. Thank you for that. Thank you. So that's a really nice feature, enabling students, for example, as they highlight various pieces of information, they can then quickly have that particular color of highlight read back to them. Also, as well, as I'm going to keep it a bit more colorful. I'm going to go for this one, actually. Yeah. So here we have another document with some red, yellow highlights. We've also got commands that allow the student or the individual to extract a specific color of highlights. So let me show you what I mean by that. Extract the red highlights. Zoom to 100%. So what we've done here is we've opened up a new document that has literally just taken the red highlights from the original document. Close without saving. Extract the red and yellow highlights. So here I'm able to choose a number of colors and get those extracted into a fresh Word document. Yeah. Close without saving. Now, as well as being able to extract our highlighted text from the document or the active document that we're working on, the reason why I've got a number of Word documents open here is to simulate as if a student is maybe working on 2, 3, 4 Word documents at the same time, maybe highlighting text from different journals, for example, and now wants to actually collect those highlights from across all the open Microsoft Word documents. And let me show you that now. Collect the red highlights. So here again, fresh new Word document is produced with the red highlighted text and even a documents list which shows you the names of the documents that it came from. Another alternative to collect the red highlights, I'm going to show you that now. Close without saving. Collect the red highlights by source. So here now, again, we've got our same red highlighted text from the various documents, but now they've been sort of split by the actual documents as well. You get the document names. That was a request that was put into us. And that's the great thing with VoxAid. We always want to sort of engage with users, and where users are asking for those sort of bespoke advanced commands, is there a way that we can do it? And we'll always look into that. As well as collecting one color, I could, of course, say, close without saving, collect the yellow and teal highlights. And there we go. It's taken all those yellow highlights from all my open Word documents and the teal as well. And there's also as well, if you want to, when you are collecting the highlights, I said collect the yellow and teal. If I say collect teal and yellow, then the order will be changed as well. So I'll just quickly show you that. Close without saving. Collect the teal and yellow highlights. And there you can see the reverse, whereby we've got the teal. So a user can really be quite flexible. You can collect 3 colors as well. Collect the red, yellow, and green highlights as well. That will work. And of course, you can always close without saving. Collect all the highlights. And there we have it. Select all, clear the highlights. Go to beginning of document. And there we are. So clear the highlights, removes the highlights from the text, or remove the highlights would do exactly the same thing as well. So those are, those are examples of what we call our productivity enhancing. And as Jim rightly mentioned, those cognitive load reducing voice commands, whereby not only are we reducing the number of steps required to carry out a task, but this sort of stuff will also help towards reducing stress. It's ideal for those wanting to reduce mouse and keyboard actions. So yeah, really proud of these commands. Now, the VoxAid voice commands are not just about enabling the user to navigate and perform software functions, but where possible, we also want to provide those advanced commands that cannot be performed with Dragon commands out of the box, or would require numerous default Dragon commands to achieve. And as I briefly mentioned, we've created these types of voice commands for Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, Publisher, and others. So let me just close this down. I'm going to close all my Word documents, and I'm going to actually say quick Word without saving. Quick Word without saving. Excellent. Again, just saving time, getting those tasks done. So before I hand you over to Reza, I'd just like to show you a bit of Glean. Let's have a go at that. Let me bring up Glean here. I do have Glean. Yes, I do. Good. Okay, so here I have my Glean account ready. And let me show you a few functions that can now be executed by voice. As you can see, we are at the home screen of Glean, and I have a number of events already recorded. So my first task is really about opening an existing event. Now, especially in a long list like this, being able to find an event, you could use the Dragon Show Links command, but for some people that can be a little bit overwhelming. And also you can't actually scroll down when you've got the show links on. But here now with VoxAid installed, what I can do, find the event solar system lecture. Open this event. Find the topic red spot. Now I'm not going to get that to play back because that will be a little bit, that will be difficult. But yes, we could then issue commands such as press play, press pause, for example. That would all work. Close search. Create event. Start microphone recording. Insert heading note. Insert heading note. This is my latest lecture. Post note. Insert important note. This information is very important to me as I will need it in my exam. Post note. Stop recording. Show events. And then I'm back to my events page again. So with Glean, this technique can be extremely useful when maybe viewing online tutorials or in Zoom meetings where you want to take notes, as a combination of dictation and the removal of having to focus on those keyboard keys is going to make for a much more relaxing and engaging note-taking experience. So I hope that's given you an insight into how individuals can use these VoxAid additional voice commands and how we can, increase our workflow and be more productive. Use the keyboard and mouse less, which is ideal for some people, especially where Jim mentioned carpal tunnel syndrome, repetitive strain injury, and more. You've also seen that I've had no reason to aimlessly access the menus looking for specific functions, and that I can perform advanced procedures that will cut out repetitive procedures and reduce that cognitive load and save myself time. So finally, I'd just like to add that the response we've been getting is extremely positive and users are finding it extremely beneficial. So for me, it's great to be in front of the right group of people who can put VoxAid in front of the people who need it most. And with that, I think over to you, Reza.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, that was that. So my name is Reza, and I'm the founder of TechEd Marketing, who are the publishers of Inspiration 10. And it's always great to see inspiration being demonstrated by others. So that's fantastic. And we are big fans of VoxAid, namely because regularly we have lots of users that are both using Inspiration in conjunction with Dragon. It's regularly recommended together. For those, say, for example, with physical challenges, or those, say, for example, with visual loss. And for us, what VoxAid does is it means that the combination of both tools, the user can effectively focus on the creative process. They're not having to think about all of the keyboard shortcuts, to use all of the features within Inspiration, and it makes it so much easier to use Dragon as well. So for us, yes, VoxAid does help our users to be so much more productive. So what, for those of you, I'm just going to share my screen, and if you just bear with a second. Okay, so for those of you that are not familiar with Inspiration, Inspiration is a visual thinking, visual mapping tool. And the idea behind the product is it provides a very graphical way, a very visual way for users to be able to capture, to be able to organize, structure, analyze, and synthesize their ideas and thinking. Now, as you can see here, there are some typical diagrams that are created in Inspiration. We have a diagram view and a map view. And what this means is that you, as well as being able to create mind maps, you can create lots of other visual thinking, graphic organizers, concept maps, webs. Inspiration is a very flexible tool. And quite often, Inspiration is very synonymous with being colorful, full of pictures, etc., because we're very passionate about what we call the dual coding process, where as well as the verbal cues, the how you express ideas using words and phrases, it's also reinforcing that using images, color, for example, because for most of us, we think in pictures. Our brains are engineered to associate images with ideas, for example. And so if we can create documents like that, we're more likely to be able to retain that information and move it from our short to medium to long term. So within Inspiration, you can create lots of different types of visual thinking maps. So for example, I've got one example here of the DNA process and how quite a complex process can be neatly and simplified in a visual format. And that's a concept map, something that's really good in terms of being able to capture knowledge, for example, as an individual or as a team. And it's great in those subjects such as science, technology, engineering, maths, for example, but can be used right across. And another example using our map view, where it's a nursing student using it for revision and creating a mind map looking at wound care. And for example, in this particular focus where she's looking at one particular topic and concept and drilling further into it. So Inspiration is very flexible from that perspective. Now, Inspiration has been around for a long time. It was first launched in 1988, so it's 34 years. So it's got a lot of pedigree and still going strong. And so in September of 2020, we launched the latest version, version 10, and which Michael was showing. Now, in terms of assistive technology and a tool in general, it is a tool that's can be used by anyone. And so it's used in education, the workplace, used personally. And you can see that on Trustpilot. So we're on there, we invite all of our users to be able to leave reviews, and you can see the breadth of usage of the product right across the piece. And it is a tool that's a live tool. We have users that have introduced to it in education. They move it into using it in education because we've been around for 34 years or more. You know, we've got users that have gone on into retirement and still depend on using Inspiration. And so it's really been shown to be really useful for users that have functional challenges in such as being able to capture, to organize and structure their ideas and tasks. For those that struggle in terms of being able to retain information or being able to develop, you know, conceptual understanding. And so what I'm going to be showing you at the end of my bit is just a case study of Simon, who's one of many case studies that we have that had a brain injury. And what he will do is talk about effectively the benefits, how Inspiration has helped him. And we've got many case studies on our website that, you know, demonstrate how Inspiration can help users such as with dyslexia, for example, autism, brain injuries, for example, mental health. The version that Michael showed you was the latest version. And so that was released in February. So For those of you that are perhaps familiar with Inspiration, but are not up to speed in terms of the new features, I thought I'd just summarize that. So yes, we launched version 10 in September of 2020, but we are releasing new updates, free updates for those version 10 users. So with version 10, it was designed to be Windows 11. Obviously, that's the platform that's now out there for Windows. And so some of the new features that we added was the citation tool. So that is a new tool, so a dedicated area where you can save all of your references against each symbol or branch within a map that you're creating. And then tied to that is actually the ability then to create a bibliography generator. So again, when you saw Michael doing the demonstration and he was flipping back between the visual map and the outline, if you start to add references towards the bottom, a bibliography that will be automatically created for you. There is the copy to clipboard feature, again, which Michael showed you. That was obviously a great feature that Michael showed, where actually, with just a command, it would copy it, it would open up Google Docs, and then you just needed to paste that. But that's a feature which we've added, the copy to clipboard, which makes it easy then to move your content from Inspiration into other tools that you might be using, such as OneNote is another one that you can take your content into. The sync tool for the map view, we have that for the diagram view at initial launch. We added that to the map view again. Michael showed that as well, which is effectively a way in which you might be able to organize your ideas visually. You want that to be reflected in your outline. So that's what the sync tool does for you. Exporting style headings was something that was added in one of our updates, so that effectively when you go over to Word or to Google Docs, obviously the headings and the subheadings are clearly identified, which means you can use the outlining navigation tools within Word or Google Docs, so what we're doing is producing very accessible documents. And then in February of this year, just recently, we added new presentation themes. So you can create PowerPoint slides within Inspiration, choose your themes. So we've got a whole bank of new themes there that you can produce and then export it out to PowerPoint. So as well as creating Google Docs and Word documents, you can also create PowerPoint presentations right within Inspiration. The ability to change the background color in the outline view, again, from an accessibility perspective, you can now set that in the default settings. Increasingly as well, the sister product is Inspiration Maps, so making it easier to be able to share files between them, so one-click opening. And then a few templates that have been added in, so family tree. Inspiration is very popular with genealogy, so that's been added in as templates. And we have included over 50 work-focused templates. Inspiration is very popular in the workplace as an assistive tech tool, as well as a general tool that's used within companies. And so we introduced over 50 different workplace templates, but they're also very suitable for students who are, say, on business studies courses, marketing courses, for example, in terms of helping them in terms of their projects. So I'm going to finish off by sharing a case study. So if you just bear with us, I'm just going to move over to that and play that. So this is Simon, who suffered a stroke and a resulting brain injury from that. So he will explain how Inspiration has helped him.
So my name is Simon Minot. Okay, so I had a stroke in 2013. The stroke gave me a lot of issues. Basically, it meant that I couldn't, memory was gone. So I had memory impairment, I had cognitive impairment. It was I had physical issues, but in relation to the work that I always did, not having a mind that was working properly was a real issue, probably the main issue. 2015, which was a couple of years later, I figured it would be a good idea to see if I could do some studying as a disabled student. But I was finding that very difficult, very, very difficult. So after a couple of months of starting my studies, I found that's when I came across inspiration, and I came across your software, and that ever since has been what's helped me to really move forward and get back on my feet. It's definitely given me confidence, because before, okay, so when I first came out of hospital in the early days, so I would try to do certain things. I just couldn't do it. I tried to do Bible studies, couldn't do it. Tried to do a sermon, I'd be up there and I'd be like thinking, I don't remember any, I can't just recollect something, a story, a Bible story or anything. I'm talking to young people, I just couldn't do it. Just couldn't gather the information. It was all up in my head, and it was all jiggled up, you know. So I think that now it's not jiggled up because I got, like, straight away, if I'm talking to you straight away, I was thinking diagrams. So I think it's like, for people that have got any kind of brain injury, I see definitely it's gonna help you, because it's gonna help you that wherever there are breaks or cracks or damage in the way that your memory and your mind works, that you can put together this software so it supports that. So that it's like, if there's an issue with the wiring, it can be like what helps you reconnect where the wiring has been broken. Yes, you want to do some therapy to see how you can get that going and what kind of processes that you can do and stuff. But in relation to a bit of software that is just going to be there, that's just going to help you at all the stages. So when your mind is really, really weak, broken, messed up, struggling, then yeah, the software's there. You can lean on the software. You can lean on it more. For me, it's grown with the way that I've progressed. It's like in the early days when I had huge problems, it helped. The way that I use it now is really different from how I used it at the beginning, because I've changed. But the software will work for multiple types of people with multiple types of issues that they might have.
Okay. Yes, a really powerful case study, and there's plenty of these that you can find on our case studies in terms of how other users with other needs have benefited from inspiration. So that's as much as I was going to talk to you about inspiration. So Jim, I think it's back over to yourself.
Thank you so much for that, Reza. Yes, I'll just share my screen and we can go from to finish the presentation. I'm mindful that we're very short of some time. So we'll just keep going. So just a quick wrap up. Michael and Reza did mention how VoxAid works with the technology that we've mentioned. They're listed here for you as a recall for you. But quickly, because we've only got a few minutes, we better get to any Q&A to answer those. But people do ask about the pricing. So on your screen, there's a pricing in British pounds. I think that today's rate, that £179 is about 320 Australian dollars. But that's there for your reference. But please, if you want to know more about that, certainly contact us after the presentation. There's the contact details for Michael. And if you want to contact me, there's my details as well. So I think we better head back to you, Darren, and just check in on anything that we need to do to wrap up.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jim. That's fantastic presentation again, and some demonstrations today from yourself, Michael, and Reza. I think some very valuable tools to add to the assistive toolkits that we all kind of have. We've got a couple of questions. One here for Michael. Instead of selecting a highlight, can one select a specific word or a style?
Well, you can select a specific word, yes. And I looked at that Q&A just now. The question from Andrew, specific word style, do you mean select all heading 1 style? Is that what the question refers to?
I think that's what he'd be referring to. Yeah, those built-in styles.
No, it doesn't do that at the moment, but that's a great idea. I think there's definitely something there, and it looks like Andrew's given me some homework. I like that. I do.
It's
yes.
good. Homework's good for all of us. Sorry, I'll quickly jump through. I've got a couple of questions I'm going to throw in as well.
Can I also ask, Andrew, Michael, would you like to show your video? It'd be not just to finish up with, so people can answer your questions, I think.
Sorry.
Michael's video's on. Reza, if you could pop yours on. And you as well, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Is my video on?
Yes,
No?
yes. I've got everybody at the moment.
Yeah, I can see Reza.
Terrific.
Yep. There we go. Excellent. Also with that, is there a command of 2 questions kind of thing? Can the spoken phrases be modified at all, Michael? Or are they set?
No, well, the spoken phrases can be trained.
Yep.
So if you're having trouble pronouncing a specific command, then you just go through the same training process that one would go through within Dragon.
Yep.
But in terms of changing the words, no, you couldn't do that. So you can only train.
Lots of they could step on each other very quickly if that was there. And is there a command to change the background color inside the Word document?
No. Just the
that would
actual
be a nice
background.
one to add.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult one to find.
Dragon does have a command. Yeah, Dragon does have a global command.
Dragon, I thought Dragon had a command for background color, if I'm correct. But I'll look into that, but I think it might have that already. Okay. I mean, when it comes to commands for the likes of Microsoft Word, I do really make a point of checking first whether or not Dragon has an existing command, because Dragon does work, very well with Word, and that's why I've concentrated on the more sort of advanced voice commands. So there's stuff that you can do with comments as well, where you can extract comments from your document and have that extracted into a new document. So it's those types of commands, but I'll check as well. And well done, Darren, for the keyboard shortcut.
I'm with you there. I close tabs all the time, and it's always the wrong one. You go back and you go, I've lost the important one that I needed open. So I feel your pain. I am very conscious of the time. I've got 100 other questions. I could spend another hour with you, Michael and Reza, on the integration of these things. There's some very powerful macros going on in the background.
Please feel free to drop me a line. Please feel free to drop me a line.
If anybody's got further questions, I know we're running out of time, please do send them through to the admin at ADCET, and we'll make sure that we pass those on to you. But yes, some very powerful tools there. So thank you very much, Jim, Michael, and Reza, for joining us today. We have 2 webinars coming up in the next fortnight. Jane's just posted some links to those, and also for the survey for today's webinar. We do value your feedback, and we share that along with the presenters. And if you can fill it in now, or if you've got time, we'll be sending that out in an email later. So again, thank you everybody for your presentation today, and everybody for attending. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.